Recorded February 5th, 2026. Good afternoon, Franklin. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Edward?
I mean,
I'm so excited about this show.
you're not been real with me. You know, I'm not gonna. I'm going to stand up for myself in 2026. You're gonna quit bullying me on this stuff, right? But anyway, you doing all right?
I'm good. Doing
That
good.
weather. You need a haircut, man. What's
I
going
know I
on?
need a haircut next week. Already going next week. I'm going to
Yeah.
Florida because the Florida water is just makes my hair even worse.
Is that what it is? The Florida water. Okay. You would Dad? You want to go hang out
No,
with
no,
Dad?
next week I'm going next week. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Tell Dad I say hello. You know I'm his favorite son. He always asks about me. I know. I'm sorry. Just tell him I say hello. What's going on, man? First and foremost, apologies to our devoted listeners, subscribers, and supporters. We had to push this out essentially 2 weeks because I was trying to do the podcast remote. Rob was disposed. He was sort of remote. Franklin was remote. We just couldn't get it right. I was in Dallas, and I just couldn't get into the show. And unfortunately, during that time, the two-factor authentication that allows me to log into the show was tied to my email that's on 365, and 365 had a very bad outage that day. It was not a good day for that, right? So, and it doesn't have any type of SMS alternative to multi-factor. So what I did was
The bottom line is you didn't finish your homework, so you brought down two-factor authentication to give yourself 2 more weeks.
hey, man,
Is that the deal?
that is the power of Edward. You have to be very, very careful with a swipe of my hand, right? Whole Eastern Seaboard has no internet. There you go. I have been working on the homework. Shameful for me not to have completed this. We're almost 2 months of being assigned, but this is your fault.
Oh, it's my fault. Okay.
You put me on this learning path. I've gone down a rabbit hole. I am trying to consume everything about artificial intelligence, everything. And this is a vast thing with both legitimate stuff that's going to revolutionize everything that we do as a species. Now I'm sounding like one of these founders that's up on stage hawking for money, right? It is legitimate. It is also going to be very profound on the negative aspect, right? And some of the negative aspect is in front of us right now. And I'm not talking about doom and gloom. There's so many fakers out here about what they say that their products can do and everything else. And then I'm starting to understand the terminology, what a frontier, what an AI native, what is AI. It's so many companies that claim that they have AI, but they're utilizing different things. We're going to have a dedicated show, a series of shows to really talk about this.
A dedicated show, you just showing off your homework that you did, the task that I gave you.
So let me tell you.
Okay.
You know how I go about my business. Then we're going to get into some announcements and we'll get our guest on. I'm coin operated. One way to get Ed to do something is tell me I can't do it. And the other thing is I spend my money. So after I loaded the Llama, downloaded a model of choice, started going through the homework you gave me. For those who don't remember, Frank said, I want you to download this model locally. I want you to be able to do this. You'll get a really good understanding of the inner workings on how things are both resident and things that are being transit and things that are bolted on to say that they're AI, but they're actually using everything else. I know the buzzwords because you learn these things, RAG, large language models, but you don't know it until you go do it. And when I saw it, it also cleared up a bunch of stuff. And I want to really say this for another show because when I get my homework done, I want to give a complete rundown. Frank's homework was download a model locally. And I want you to go ahead and install the MCP server. And then in the MCP server, there's a particular prompt I want you to do. And it's going to go out and you prompt it and say, what is Frank's magic number? If you do it right, you'll get a response back. So that seems then that's about
because there's no way the model has no way of knowing what Frank's magic number is.
No way of knowing what Frank's magic number is. But during that time, I went down a rabbit hole. I downloaded that. You told me to stop going the hard way of trying to, deploy an MCP server using, a tool like Flask. Use something like Fast MCP. I really got a better understanding of what all these things are. And one other thing, the MCP is a hype bug. Everybody's doing it. I know what it is. It seems like it's super revolutionary. It really isn't. right? That'll be another topic. I got somebody that's coming on, and not to spoil it, who the guest is going to be. Remember that YouTube video you told me to go watch to learn all the things about MCP?
I don't remember that one, but that's
you put in the email, the GitHub, and the person that did the training.
Okay.
Guess who's coming on the show? Yeah, there you go. So I downloaded. I had to go find a device. So I said, well, I'm going to go and buy me a device that's capable of running AI locally, and I don't want a dog. So I went out. I was going to buy one of those newer iMacs with the silicone backplane that do shared memory that's adjacent to the GPU on board. Two of those things, challenge them together, and I was going to spend about what, $6,000 more than that? I don't know. I said, no, I won't do that. So I had a gaming laptop that had a GPU that was adequate. I shared it with you. It had an NVIDIA something, about 8 gigabytes of onboard to the car of RAM. It doesn't have to use a shared backplane, but it can. I ran it, and then I decided, oh my God, I called the AI bug. I want to understand how to do this. So I went out and built a rig. I couldn't help myself. I was going to purchase the DGX NVIDIA Spark. And I thought the machine was like a server, wasn't about that big. It's that big. Not that big. It's like a brick.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted $4,000 each for one of those.
Right.
After I told them to go kick rocks barefooted, right? I'm not doing that. I got into AI and I told all the models that I subscribe to, Grok, Gemini, GPT, Copilot, Perplexity, OpenAI, and I use one more I'm missing, I'm sure. I use all the models.
Can I sell you one? Go ahead.
So I told it, go build me a machine that runs away from this machine. And here are the specs. Grok came back and said, that's a tall order, sir. The DGX was custom made by NVIDIA to be able to have, ultra performance based on their Blackwell, blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't care. I don't like to lose. And Grok said, I like that type of attitude. Out of all the other models, it was most personable. So I built the machine. So I put 256 gig of RAM in it. I put four terabyte PCI SSD drives on the board. I put dual cooling in it. I put 3 NVIDIA GPUs in it to go. I put a 10 gigabyte dual, 10 gigabyte uplink with a usable 2.5 of that. I put 3 fans in the front, 4 on the side, and the fans in the back. It absolutely screams.
You just have an entire new cooling system for your house that you have to run that,
It's and I to smooth out the 120, because if everybody, I'm an electrical engineer by degree, 120 in your house is nasty. From the time it reaches the wires or underground, it comes through your junction board, your panel, you can get anything from 118 to 124. It's not so much the voltage, it's the sine wave. It's dirty. So it wreaks havoc on sensitive equipment. So I put a generator from the wall in front of it that smooths out the sine wave, so that I get a very smooth.
How much does this thing cost you?
My wife might be listening to the show.
You can rent this for $10 an hour, but that's okay.
I am basically a neo cloud company in my neighborhood. So let me just give you a little bit of specs, and then we'll talk about some announcements and get to our guest. 2 of the GPUs are Blackwell Pro 4000, and one of the GPUs is the NVIDIA Blackwell 6000. There you go. I'll leave it at that. So
text me later how much all this costs. I'm dying to know.
If my wife finds out and she knows, I'll be dying. But I boot from Power Up to Windows 11 Enterprise in 7 seconds.
See, as the robbers go through, you're gonna everybody like, oh, that guy's got gold in his house. That guy's got GPUs. They're gonna knock off.
I'm gonna rob the GPU guy, right? You want to vape. So that's all I did, man. I'm loving it. Thank you for putting me on it. I'm getting an understanding. I see why things happen what they happen, right? And yeah, I'll give you access to it if you want to.
Your wife is like, Frank has Edward do one small task and it cost me $50,000. How did this happen? Is that what she's gonna say?
When you come out of the house, she's gonna have words with you.
Oh yeah, I'm in trouble now.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
She used to like me.
yeah. There you go. A couple things. A lot of Sentinel stuff going on. A lot of migration efforts that have started to come down my plate. Pricing being the biggest thing. The technology is easy, but people are still sort of befuddled about the pricing. They're looking at the data lake. They want to get out of ADX. Archive is not a big thing anymore. They're trying to be more cognizant of the logs that they bring in, and pricing still seems to be the things. People are able to master the pricing, but the Sentinel price has never just been straightforward. So I've been doing a lot of that lately. A lot of competes and stuff like that. Our Microsoft platform versus some of the other competing platforms that are out there, CrowdStrike, Palo, whomever it may be. What else have I broken? Learned something very cool about my favorite product in XDR. And I got to share it when we do one of our us only shows about the integration of AI security and detection across the XDR stuff that you don't see. I was playing around in Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, and something generally made my eyebrows go up. And I don't even have eyebrows. I just got wrinkles in the forehead. I was like, I did not know that was there. And so I started connecting this stuff, and I'm like, this is cool. And I showed Rod. Rod's like, I didn't know it was there either. So I want to show that. I'm building a lab out. I want to show that. And I'm like, there's so much interconnection and detection points in the product that you don't know about because it may not be in your domain of expertise. Needless to say, everybody who thought Microsoft, what was the MCAS? Microsoft Cloud Access Server, something like that, MCDA now was dead. It's sort of getting a little bit of a reboot. It does some really cool things now. And then playing with Purview a little bit more. And then another product that's probably one of the most powerful products in the XDR stack that doesn't get as much love as it should. There have been some major updates within the last few months about Microsoft Defender for Identity. It is cool now. So all those GPO audits and setting up GSA accounts automatic now with a new sensor. It will configure all these audit settings for you. It used to be a pain because when I would go do surveys or assessments, when people deploy MDI, 90% of all the customers did not have a complete deployment. They didn't have the proper login and this and that. And guess how I got really good at it? After you convinced me to go take the SANS Forensic 508 course, I could speak the language. I was like, oh my God, I can get in your environment with PowerShell. You could not find me. You couldn't find me. I don't need Cobalt Strike and all this other stuff. I don't need Mimic. I can navigate your living off the land. You would not see me, right? Unless you know what, you gotta have logging. So that's pretty cool. That's all I got going on, man. What about you?
Well, Microsoft released today a blueprint for, it looks like a new exam called the Microsoft Cloud and AI Security Engineer. So hopefully we can put that link in the show notes so people can go out and vote for what they think is relevant for this exam.
I voted today. I did my survey today. I had to go back and really look at it. Please tell the people to make the selection process of the things you want it to be better. It doesn't scroll right. So I had to, but I made
stay on topic. So yeah, it's very interesting that, so my prediction is that AZ500 will be retired and this will be the replacement for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, AZ is probably going to be sunsetted. We're not saying that's going to happen, but we can see the writing on the wall. This is where the roadmap is coming. That and that exam had a reputation for being hard for a little while.
Yeah. Well, that exam was out before AZ700, which was the networking. So it actually had a lot of what you would consider should be an AZ700. So now it's just much more focused on what the security engineer will be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, having the AI component that goes across not only Foundry, but Copilot and everything else. So it's not just stuck to Azure. Now, how do I know that? But that's okay.
No. Other than that, man, let's go ahead and get our guest on. So
Yep.
we have some
They've
friends.
been waiting 2 weeks.
They've been waiting 2 weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and add two of our guests into the show. Welcome, Leonard. Welcome, Charlie.
Hey, guys.
I've known Leonard very personal for a number of years. I know Charlie by that 2 degrees of separation. And I consider them friends of the show. We've, you in this arena, you stay in touch. But I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves, what they do, how did I coerce them to come onto the show, and talk about all things that's good in lock-based cyber. So, Leonard, Charlie, the floor is yours, man. Shameless plugs.
Yeah, no, thanks, Edward. We appreciate the invite. Longtime fans of the show, so it's cool. It's one of those things. It's cool to finally arrive, be here chatting with you guys. I've learned a lot from the show over the years, so appreciate you guys doing it and all the cool stuff. And yeah, I mean, love AI, so that's something I can't wait for you to dig deeper into that. I think we'll touch on some of the things we're doing as it relates to SOC AI a little bit here today. But I guess by way of introductions, Leonard Voling, managing partner at Lock-Based Cyber. Lock-Based Cyber is a boutique Microsoft security firm. All we do is Microsoft security projects, right? We're a professional services org. So we engage with customers. It's going to be in a SAO capacity, helping them deploy, optimize, operate Microsoft security solutions. That is a pretty big umbrella. There's a few gray areas. I think for us, it means first and foremost, modern SOC, for lack of a better word, lack of a marketing team. For us, modern SOC is the Microsoft SIEM and XDR story with some automation and some security copilot sprinkled in. We love doing those kind of projects. So that's really our bread and butter. But of course, AI is the topic du jour. So, I mean, we are getting deeper into purview. We are getting into just AI security standalone. So those are things we're doing AI security workshops. We're seeing more and more purview deployments. So that kind of stuff is happening. And then, the base layer of Intune and Entra. Yeah, we do that stuff. We love doing it. Usually it's an extension of an MDE project, but there's still plenty of projects that are either standalone Intune deployments or standalone Entra deployments. So we're still seeing a lot of that kind of stuff as well. But the company's relatively young, but we've had a great couple years growing the team. We boutique by design, if I haven't said that already. And what that means is we're always going to be small, and we're always going to be a team of senior folks, right? So strike team, I don't need to try to steal your old role, right? Global black belts, that's the kind of talent we want to bring to the table, right? Whoever you're talking to at the firm, I'll kick it over to Charlie here in a minute. He is the leader, the technical leader at Lock-Based. So when we think about the type of talent, the type of people, and yeah, I mean, if you're looking, call us. If you feel like, when you hear from Charlie today, if you feel like that's the kind of technical leader you want to roll with, and that's the kind of thing you want to do, we pride ourselves on bringing a collaborative approach. We pride ourselves on bringing an educational approach to our projects, right? So, our projects are usually one person. We don't back up a truck of 5 or 10. It's a single senior resource that knows how to communicate, that knows how to deliver, that knows how to teach, and that's the kind of the style we bring. So I'll toss it over to Charlie to do the same, and we'll keep going.
Yeah. What's up, guys? It's been a while. Yeah, Edward, I think I've been with you in person more than I've had online. I remember I was at the GBB summit for something. I'm like walking around, I'm like, hey, what's up, Edward?
What's going on, Charlie? Yeah, doing that thing, right?
Yeah. Another time we're at a customer site, and we'll save that story for another time. But I
remember that.
Yeah. But yeah, hey guys. So I'm Charlie Smith, principal architect here. So I come from a financial industry background, so financial services. So did a lot of acquisitions, and then over time, I had access to any and every tool available to me. We had nearly an unlimited budget. So I got to get my hands into Like if I want a proof point, I want to grab proof point, want a Mimecast, wanted, any EPP EDR solution. And then early on, kind of discovered what Microsoft was doing. And I found in our industry, there's like different waves that happen, right? So if you think of like internet completely changed the way we did business, virtualization changed everything. That was another wave. Moving stuff to the cloud, right, was a huge wave. And over time, you can kind of see these signs, and AI is obviously one of them today. We are definitely on it. We are developing, I won't say too much, but we have developed different agents for Security Copilot with different integrations.
Okay.
And it is profound what we're able to do. In one scenario, we did an attack in this one scenario, and so we did some pen testing, and we were able to find the threat actor's host name because of MDE was able to log that, but Security Copilot helped us get there a lot quicker. So
yeah, that's the thing. Probably would definitely be. There's so many topics that we can pin to that. I won't get off topic as Frank says, but Security Copilot needs a revisit by virtue, not because of all of a sudden astounding capability within the product. I don't believe that was something that was necessarily hard to overcome. You just needed more adoption for it. But what hurt the adoption of it was the very obscure pricing aspect of it.
Yeah.
People were confused. SCU, UCS, USC, and I mean the USC in California, not the fake one in Carolina. And so I don't want any game cost mad at me. I'm just joking.
You're a Navy guy, aren't you? You're a Navy guy.
Yeah. And so Security Copilot now may have another chance to shine because of the allocation that enterprise customers may have. Anybody that's consuming the M365 E5 SKU is going to be on a rolling SCU injection into their thing. You'll get 400 SCUs per 1,000 users. I believe that's the number, right?
Yeah.
That number, they finally prorated that number. So you don't have to have 1,000, then you go. It's public knowledge now. You can have as little as 5 licenses and it'll prorate that SCU down to like 0.35 or something like that. It's a number. But you said something that's very interesting. You all the things that you're doing, everything is single code. I've seen a lot of adoption of products around the E5 stack, and people bought it. But now all of a sudden, you're seeing that the purchase or procurement of the SKU is slowed down, and now you're starting to see the adoption and consumption of it. I need to use what I have because now you're starting to see a greater synergy between the bean counters and the security deliverers, right? The practitioners. And they're like, hey, we bought all these products.
Yeah.
We need to use these things. Sentinel's absolutely been on my radar lately because I'm starting to see things that had nothing to do with the capability of the technology. I'm seeing more of my opportunities being driven by financial considerations. We're in the contract at this other thing, and now this thing. But when I get into this thing, which is Sentinel, the pricing drives people bananas. Like they don't know what they don't know. So you got to become less of a transactionist and more of a consultant to say, why are you bringing these logs in? Why are you doing this? So and so. The tools that Microsoft has, I get it. It's an effort, but now you're seeing more robust tools that are being developed from the MVP and the practitioners and the partner community. I think partners are happy. Microsoft seems to be very committed to let the partners figure that out, which is why we brought you guys on. You guys have a nifty tool. I ran it through its paces. I actually sent it off in a few things, emails that I've had. I'm like, go check this out. This is cool. We're gonna post it tonight. So tell us about this Sentinel pricing application tool that you have. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, no, happy to, Edward. I think it's something we're really excited about. Like you said, Sentinel pricing and thinking about ingestion has been a challenge, really since day one. Obviously, Microsoft has made some announcements with Data Lake, and we're all in on that. I mean, in case it's not obvious to everybody, right? If you're deploying Sentinel right now, Data Lake should be a part of the architecture, right? So you need to understand it. And Charlie can elaborate on that. That's how important this is just as a technology. Now, when you say, hey, on top of that, we're able to simplify the licensing a little bit, the pricing a little bit, but there's still a lot of details, right? And what we did, let me go ahead and get this calculator shared out. I know you're going to get it in the show notes, but try to share a screen here.
Leonard, this isn't Teams, so it's gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah, you got to click on the little television screen and do all that stuff. Yeah.
As long as it doesn't make me share my entire screen, that's what I thought there for a second. Like, all right,
I don't have the real estate for that. I don't have the real estate for that.
Is the calculator showing up?
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, so this is out there, right? You can get to it off of our website, lockbasecyber.com. There's a little button in the upper right. Click that, or obviously if you jot down the URL here, sentinelcalculator.lockbasecyber.com. It's available to anybody that wants to access it. So that was a really intentional decision, is saying, hey, let's just put this out there, whether you're a practitioner, a customer, Microsoft, like anybody that can get use out of this, get value out of this, have at it, right? So it's out there for anybody. These little buttons are tabs across the top. So we'll start with setup, of course, then we'll get to sources, architecture, and the last tab, the cost tab, presents a nice summary and lets you see where there's maybe room for optimizations, et cetera, right? But if you're walking up to this thing for the first time, you got to put in your user count, right? So we'll say, hey, we've got 10,000 users at Acme Corp, right? When I look at number of endpoints, this is going to say, hey, and we try to leave breadcrumbs, right? That the font might not always be super readable, but hey, anything that's going to be generating, either running EDR, generating logs. So this should include my laptop, my user endpoints, and my server endpoints. I'll go ahead and say 12,500 there. The industry dropdown, this is just going to auto populate some compliance settings or some retention settings, right? So we're trying to, this isn't just a sizing tool. This is an architect, right? This is Charlie's knowledge. This is knowledge from our senior Sentinel engineers poured into this thing. So we know all of the considerations you have to factor in when you're doing a Sentinel design. And that stuff's in here, right? So if I select retail, again, there's going to be some specific settings that go off in regards to retention, et cetera. So at the moment, I'm at 58 gigabytes a day, right? But there's a ton of knobs I can tweak when I'm thinking about Sentinel pricing. So the first one that I don't think anybody truly understands is the Sentinel data grant. We factor that in here. It's fairly basic, but we're making sure that that's known. The other thing you can get, and certainly every customer doesn't have Defender for Server, but if you own the Defender for Server, there is a data grant for that you can turn on or turn off, right? Depending on how many endpoints you have connected. Where should I put my Sentinel data center? Obviously, a lot of customers, they walk in, and if they have an Azure environment, they tend to default to that existing Azure environment. And this is available in the Azure calculator, right, on Microsoft's site, but it's not presented this way, right? It's presented in kind of just, hey, here's a price for this one, here's a price for that one. You have to kind of solve which one's the right one for me. Oh, go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but like location is so important because it will radically change your cost. And some customers will come in and like, well, I'm in Central. That's where all my servers are at. Therefore, Sentinel needs to be in Central. And I kind of bring up like, well, why? When we think about server and architecture, right? We want to keep stuff close together. This is a little bit different. We're talking about logs, right? If a log is sent milliseconds quicker, is it a big deal? It could be. But so we typically lean towards, hey, put it in a region that makes cost sense. And that's often the East US. And that's where we default to. That's where most deployments get deployed, as in the East US.
So let me say something about that and give the floor back to you guys really quick. Default and disclosure, I am a Microsoft employee, and my opinions and opinions of my guests expressed on this show don't necessarily represent that. But I agree with what you say. I've had to go in and convince some people to really get out of their centralized or closest to the wire type of mentality, because one thing that I'll say is that you need to be super cognizant of your design architecture in the cloud, especially when it comes to this, when you talk about the data lake. there are capacity issues. And I'll stop right there and I'll let you guys elaborate on that. When you choose your region, you need to say, am I going to be a consumer of the data lake? And the reason that's important is going to be a subsequent show that I'm going to bring up. I'd love to maybe have you guys come on as guest experts. You'll notice that Microsoft issued a public announcement that the final transition from the Sentinel portal from Azure to the Defender portal has been delayed until 2027. We'll talk about it on the show. It has huge implications on how you go about your business when you design Sentinel. But go ahead, back to that.
Yeah, well, it's a great call out, right? And to be clear, I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces still with Sentinel, right? The announcement you just called out is key. I know a lot of our larger customers were really nervous about that transition, excited and nervous, right? And then even something like data lake query usage. We don't have 100 deployments we can point at and say, hey, here's our honed, right, best practice. But we do have our initial thinking, factored in here, and we don't think it's going to make any decisions, right? But we want to help our customers think about it. And to your point, right, there are some implications, when we think about, data lake isn't just storage. There is a query element to this, right, that you have to factor into the architecture, as well as the price, right? So, we can throw a number in here. 100 queries a day, and we can see a number associated with that. But again, at the moment, we're still dialing in, okay, firsthand experience. What is this going to be for a 50,000 seat org, versus what is this number going to look like for a 5,000 seat org? But just to keep rolling along, there's a lot of detail. You do have to read the directions. I know, us males, in cybersecurity and dominated in this industry, I love that we have others kind of joining in, women kind of joining into this field more and more every year, but we don't read the directions, right? So that's one of the areas where we can use some help for sure, among many. But you got to read the directions. So this is going to help us scale the connectors. So when we think about how many AWS accounts I'm going to pop into here? How many Azure accounts? 5. If I say, hey, how many things, IP addresses behind, a firewall? These are simply things that are going to, turn the knobs for the connectors. So you should see the daily volume number up here in the upper right, going up, right? When I say on-premises servers, this is going to affect, my syslog ingest. I think earlier I assumed I had 2,500, right? So these things are going to impact, the numbers, the ingest, right? So I won't go through all of these, but a lot of detail here. And then down in the compliance, again, we've selected PCI based off of it being a retail customer, but you can check whichever compliance you need to. You can add or remove, kind of recommended log sources. These are our recommendations that we're saying, hey, based off of what you selected, obviously I can one at a time select or remove these things, or I can just go ahead and add all 7. Now you saw that number, jump up quite a bit, right?
But I love the guide here, right? We haven't got into the sources yet, but it's helping you as an individual. These are questions we would have been asked anyway, right? If I was sitting next to you, I was on site, whatever it was, I'd be going through with you. I'm like, all right, how many servers do you have? What's this? I'm punching in numbers, right? And then from there, I'm already kind of like cataloging. I'm like, well, you're going to need Azure AD audit logs. You're probably going to be needing this. So this is kind of, helping a guided tour on what you should end up needing. So that's why we have the add button, and there's more we can do here, but it's helping informing and giving you that kind of input information.
Yeah, I see this as a huge empowerment thing for the customer, because while the Sentinel account lead is out there, it is, you're in a room and you're not talking to anybody but yourself. But when you can use this tool, partners can help customers go through this, but eventually you still come back to whoever your account representative is in Microsoft, and the way they do numbers and the way you have these raw numbers, you have to find what is the truth, right? Because that's not still account. This is MSRP for
Yes. Yeah.
You have to look at, are there any concessions by virtue of who you are, your discounts, things. and so on. So I like this because it allows the customer to be able to go out, and if they were to extrapolate your questions, it allows them to go to the different business groups and ask the same questions. I'm seeing more and more security companies, especially the security companies, more and more large companies do bill back to the business groups. You want me to bring these logs into this, and this is not really a security thing. I need to bill back to you as a business group. And so being able to get you to tell me what you're bringing in helps a lot. Now, this is 90% of the use case is going to be to the security group for first and foremost to bring this in. But I've seen companies that have huge amounts of tenants that operate very autonomously. It's like they're separate businesses. That drives me bananas, right? Because I got to ask the same question 1,900 times. But if I can go back and sit here and say, go use this tool, give this tool to someone else, go, contact lock-based cyber, and you got to have a more consultative approach to it now. I stay away from the log ingest side these days because that's an easy thing. I always ask the question that I love this here. Why are you bringing Key Vault in? Why are you bringing NSG logs in? Why are you bringing Defender for Cloud logs in? And so when they check these things, I make them give me something, a validation of these logs have actual value in your security operation. So, and it's pretty. It's one of the more softer things. I don't feel like I'm giving my life away chicken on these buttons. So I like the color scheme. Oh, and one other thing, I had a joke when we did the podcast years ago. The instructions to men in this field is a troubleshoot manual. We never go to it until something's broken.
Yeah. It's the truth. Yeah. And that's the thing. There's details. And talk to an expert. We added this button in. We're happy to spend, 30 to 60 minutes just sharing our perspective, right? Like I'm not doing this justice to where Charlie or one of our senior engineers would do, going through this with their real world perspective, so definitely encourage folks to think about taking us up on that. There's a lot of details here, whether you read the instructions or get kind of somewhere close. But if we go next here, continue to sources, this is where we're going to go even deeper. Each of these nodes has a bunch of detail hidden underneath it. So if I click into like Defender for Endpoint, I can, with a fine-tooth comb, decide what I want flowing in analytics and what I want into Data Lake, right? So, we're making some recommendations by default, but I can turn certain things on by default here, right? I'll just grab one, right? So actually, maybe I'm misremembering that. Add the source, and then I think at some point I can change that. I'll have to double check if I'm.
It's on the next page.
On the next page, okay. Yeah. Thanks, Charlie. But so we have some perspective on what should live where, and again, now with Data Lake, that's a huge component. But we're kind of showing what we think the default should be for each of these. So for each source, I can go in, evaluate that. Yeah, please, Charlie.
Yeah. So one of the things that there's 4 questions I ask every time for a log source, right? Like it's the same ones every time that helps shape this. Question number 1 is, are we bringing this in because of compliance reasons, right? Is there some regulation that we're trying to satisfy to bring it in? Yes or no? That's a pretty much dead giveaway. The second one, right, is this, are we bringing this in because we can do detections on it, right? So Leonard, if you want to go back to that one that we were just on, and that kind of helps answer some of these questions, right? So we kind of scooch down here a little bit. So on the left, right, it says analytic tier use. This answers that question. Like, can we do detections off of it? Yes. But is everything that we're bringing in for detection reasons? No. That asks the next question, third, which is, we bringing this in for enrichment. If I would have had this, would have helped me during an incident, or help me make a decision going from, okay, got an alert, it's suspicious, but is it malicious? If I would have had this data set, that would have been really nice, but it's high volume. I don't really want to put that in our kind of analytic tier, like the hot tier. I just really need this when I need to query on demand, right? And that answers that question. And you might be asking, what's the 4th one? I love the 4th one. Why are we bringing it in if we said no to all of these? Doesn't meet compliance. We can't do detection. We can't do enrichment. And the question is, why are we bringing it in? And there could be an answer to it, but that's how we approach this.
Yeah. Can I ask a question on this?
Yeah.
Because I saved it for this because I did go through the tool. I'm playing around with it because I rebuilt out my entire Sentinel environment. Frank, you probably saw that our lab was blasted to atoms. That was me. Sorry if I didn't tell you. I rebuilt everything. You were referencing basic logs. Help me understand if basic in reference to the basic log capability, or basic meaning the type of log personality.
It's the pricing tier basic.
Okay.
Is what it's for. Yeah. So for those on the recording, for whatever reason, when we ingest logs into Sentinel, right, it's we've had the option to do kind of more of a hot tier kind of analytic, and then more of a cost-effective option, which is basic. And that's what we're kind of referring to. And with Data Lake, right, that really changes how we go about this as well. But basic is that pricing tier.
Okay.
The table.
Yeah, I look at it, and I think I shared the link to this, and someone hit me back. One of the customers I referred this to. I'll see if they followed up with you guys. They're like, we thought basic logs were going away, and I'm like, who knows? I only work here. I don't know what's going on with it. But right, they like, well, Data Lake seems to be the future path for all things that you do going forward. So to our listeners out there, the basic logs is included in there because it's still an option within Microsoft as a repository of your logs. But understand that there are going to be some roadmaps here announced next week. They may sit here and say that that's not really part of the future roadmaps here. So I'm not sharing anything out of band here, but yeah. But I had a customer or someone that I sent this to ask me about that. So they're like, what do I do basic, or do I do Data Lake? I don't know yet. I'm like, do Data Lake.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Sure.
I mean, we're going to try to keep the tool updated and tracking with Microsoft. But like you called out earlier, right? The pricing, Microsoft controls the pricing. Microsoft obviously controls when some of these like basic, kind of come or go or end of life. So yeah, we'll do our best to update. For now, it is an option. I don't know that I've seen a scenario. So I'll real quick, right? You can filter log sources, right? So there's a lot of options to scroll through here. Obviously, you can scroll straight through, or you can kind of click through and say, hey, I want to just see all the network stuff. And we already have a few pre-populated here. But if there's something else I want to add, I can go ahead and add that. So hopefully folks understand, right? Like this is filterable. I can select whatever I want to bring in and then go to the architecture tab. Right. So now this is where I can't remember one of these. I've seen us light up the basic tier here. Right. It is there. But as folks work through this, they should see, on the left here, all the log sources they've selected or we've selected on their behalf. They'll see kind of our logic applied to what we think the breakdown should be between analytics and data. And again, I don't know, Charlie, if you've went through this once, but I don't think I've seen whether we're pressure testing this internal or using it with the customer. I don't think I've seen us light up the basic tier here. But
with Data Lake now, like you're going to have to arm wrestle me. There can be use cases, but there's so much more benefit to Data Lake from a threat hunt perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's one of the reasons why I would go after basic is for that threat hunt, right? I found something, I need to query a bunch of data. I can't do detections on it. That's what it's for. But with Data Lake, right, there are some other significant pros. And I think Frank came off mute. Maybe you had something to add.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well forget about the basics. Just go to the data tier, the KQL, multi-table. The limitations that you had before, it's just not worth it sticking with basic. Yep. So just go Data Lake.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, we totally agree. So I don't think anybody working through this will see stuff going to basic. We'll keep it there until it's decommissioned. But again, you do as we drill into this, you can configure the tiers yourself. So we're trying to bring our expertise to bear. One thing I've learned throughout doing this my entire career is every customer is a snowflake. Yes. And that's not universal. Yeah, there's a lot of things we all do the same, and there's a lot of patterns and practices that we can rinse and repeat, but everybody is a snowflake. So if in your world you need to tweak these things, change it. Change that to Data Lake, right? And we're trying to make this as custom as possible, while also giving people kind of those core best practices to leverage on.
You made an excellent point, Leonard, on that, because while this looks great. A lot of users will consider this a tool for Greenfield. This is an excellent tool to justify how you're doing business when you're ready to transition, right? Yeah. It's not just a migration to Sentinel. I'm running Sentinel. I've had it. It's stable. I need to go back and revisit my methodology and my mindset about what I'm doing. And oftentimes customers don't do it because if you go to Microsoft directly or someone else, you have to overcome the art of the deal. They want to start talking, selling, and so on, so on. No. I need rationalization of how I'm doing business now. And if you want me to transition over, this is what I'm using. I need to move it. I love this as a consultative tool. So I can go in and say, let me look at your environment, do this, so on, so on. I put it in, and now I can come back and ask those questions that are very basic. No pun intended. You actually have some log tiering going into this. One thing I'll share with you that was a win on this, I can't share the customer name. I used this. He quoted me. I used this tool and I did not know we had multiple workspaces and I could not figure out where the data was going. Someone had stood up a workspace and they were splitting the data off. I'm like, how did you not see this? Which also goes back to what I'm going to talk about in this multi-workspace unified portal thing. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. You can't see this. Your permissions don't allow you to do this, but the logs were going there. And so he had the tool. He took this and he went back and said, hey guys, did you know we had 3 other workspaces that we're dumping these logs in from application stuff? And they like, I didn't know that. He said, I would have not, it didn't detect it. It made them ask the question. Yeah. And when they went back and they saw that, and they went back to permissions, subscription and stuff like that. So I'm like, man, this is actually pretty cool here.
Can I ask a few questions? I have to admittedly say that I was answering questions in chat. So if you cover this, I'm sorry, and you can tell me to pay attention next time. So the new Defender for Endpoint custom connector, where they're like, hey, send all this data off to the Sentinel workspace. Are you guys covering that?
Yeah, I don't know if we've factored that into the logic here yet or not. I don't know, Troy, you know the answer to that?
Yeah, if you go to the XDR connector, I can't remember if we have it. We factored in some of it here. One of the tricky part for like MDE specifically, and maybe Frank, you know, this is what you're maybe going towards. So like maybe you weren't going here, but MDE is fun when we're ingesting logs, because with MDE, right, there's device events, there's file events, and all these other ones. Well, in the preview portal, right, there's a feature you can add. Well, I don't think it's preview anymore. I think it's production, but you can increase the fidelity of the signal, which then will skyrocket your MDE ingest as a result of that. And we haven't added that in here yet.
It creates the custom tables, or I forget what the table names are now. It creates the Sentinel and sends it over.
Yeah. Well, that's been out for a second, where you expand the data connector, and then you can choose individual things from certificates to device info, network info. I think you're talking about that.
This is something they just announced at Ignite, where they have custom data collection, which of course you could do in Sentinel all along. But now they're putting it out there, and so you have duplicate table names where, you know, say device, whatever, then you have custom device, or I can't remember the names right now. It's too late in the day for me. GitHub Copilot training.
Somebody sent something out, some MVP that allowed a KQL query to look for duplicate tables and something like that. But you sparked something else to make my mind come to it. Like when you're in the Defender portal and you're looking at the analytics, the data collection inside the portal, definitely take a different look. Open up the Sentinel. And there's a way that even if you have been migrated over from the Azure portal into the Sentinel portal, you can still go back to the legacy and you can see both of the data connectors, right? And there's not parity in between those data connectors. And I could not figure out why, but now I know why. But your tool helps users sort of figure out what that transition looks like going to the Defender table and doing a validation. I like your tool as a trust but verify tool, so you don't get any surprises. Definitely when you have a change of leadership, and the first thing any leader wants to do is cut costs. That's what they do.
two more questions for you.
Yeah.
So there's probably three questions now. So do you have something like, hey, the other question is sysmon, right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Do you have something in there for that saying, hey, listen, you actually want to have greater collection than what's being pushed out from Defender for Endpoint? Do you have anything specific for sysmon for like the standard configuration?
Yeah. So we were trying to walk a balance of not making this too technical. And maybe, Frank, this is where you're going. So like for the folks that didn't know, Yuba is a good example because that's compatible with different data sources. One of them is the security events table. Well, if you look at Yuba and what it is able to kind of tee off of to enrich some of that user entity behavior, is some of those sysmon processes as well. So with the tool, we were trying to walk a line of like, man, how technical do we get where we start talking about event IDs and if we did, then how do we explode that? So today, not at the moment, we're not including sysmon.
Because there's standard things like the U.S. government says, here's the standard configuration for sysmon. Do you, I guess you don't do anything with DCR trimming, converting stuff before it hits and dropping stuff. You can
not
say,
with this tool.
Okay.
Not yet.
And so I'm sorry, how does retention play into this when you're thinking about this from the Defender? Right? So the screen that I'm looking at is really small. So these are just little blue, that's why I keep going like this. So these are just little blue boxes for me. So
I'm looking at myself.
So sorry about that. So tell me how retention plays into calculations.
So well, a couple of things real quick, right? So one, this is software. So like the curse of every software, right? We got to maintain it. And so I think both those points that you related, whether it's enhanced or custom MDE logging, or whether it's some of the sysmon stuff that's now being advocated for, right? We've got to get that folded into the tool. To Charlie's point, we want it to be at the right altitude, but this is a technical tool. And I mean, so we'll get that in our backlog, right? And we'll get those things put in here. And I would expect at some point you'd be able to come in here and turn some of those knobs on and off for those things.
Go ahead, Lynn. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, as far as your question so we saw the architecture, right? We saw kind of the difference between data lake. The last is cost here. And in the cost, this is where we're going to see kind of that monthly cost, the breakdown between what's applied, whether we're using pay as you go, which it defaults to. So we know in this particular instance, right, we can absolutely bump it up. We can see the breakdown between there looks like something going into. So this is the retention. That's one of the things I was looking for here. And I think Charlie was trying to jump in here before. I just wanted to get to this tab and he can kind of weigh in on retention, but we are based on them selecting PCI on the first screen, right? That PCI is the compliance. We have chosen a default retention and you can see, right? 90 days for analytics, a full year for data lake and 30 days for basic. But Charlie, did you have something else you wanted to make sure was called out there?
Yeah, and open to feedback, obviously. It's trying to walk that line of giving directionally enough information where we can kind of get a good idea of like how the data, what your cost is, and where we can have some savings as well. I think Edward kind of mentioned it. It's like, yeah, I mean, I can kind of pre-input what I'm doing today, but what would it look like if I took this and more of into a data lake? How much are we going to get back? Because that's one of the questions I ask too is, I think as a security practitioner, I'm always like, I need that log. I really need it. What are you going to do with it, Charlie? I don't know. I might need it. Yeah. And then you go back and say, okay, well, let's just hypothetically go through that really quick. So we know that this log generates this many events, which is equivalent to 4 KB or 8 KB, whatever it is. Do the math. That's $12,000 a year, right? And you can say, is it worth $12,000 a year for analytic tier? Yeah. Or we put that over here in basic.
And no tool, no matter who deploys it, is actually going to be 100% fidelity because you don't own the pricing aspect. What you're trying to do is take what is being delivered from the owner of the particular solution. And it changes all the time, the meters and all this other stuff. I would say, to keep the tool highly effective as it is, but a minimalist in asking questions that go into detail, because it can become onerous. If a tool like this can get me about 50 to 65% of clarity about what I'm doing, then you win, because it's going to be better than anything else you have out there right now, right? And I think that this tool is a boon for the principal architect, the principal engineer, to be able to put together some type of executive report, which you have at the end, and take to his VP, EVP, CISO, and say, hey, here's a range about what we're doing, especially if there's a migration aspect of the transaction, right? We're getting ready to move over. This is not going to be the source, not the gospel, but this is going to get us close. I would have one recommendation for your tool.
Please.
Very much so, somewhere in there, you're talking about you taking feedback. It sounds like you're probably taking feedback from that actual customer professional interaction. I would make the feedback and request for features very prominent on the page to say, your best ideas are going to come from people like Frank that goes, hey, can you do this? And just reply back, hey, we believe that this would convolute the mission of the tool. Thank you for this. But if you try to incorporate everybody's little nuance, you can't win.
Yeah, that's good, because we wanted to keep this free, right? We didn't want to paywall this. We wanted something that anybody could use. And when we make it free, right, question is like, how do we get some of that feedback as well? So yeah, thanks, Edward. I appreciate
so the bottom line is you're not guaranteeing this with a do not exceed number. You're not guaranteeing that. I'm just checking. So you've seen that on proposals before, I'm sure. So no, this is very important, because this is something we discuss all the time between SC100, the security architect, the SC200, and now AZ500. So yeah, I mean, this is something we talk about in SC100, something we've been pushing for a long time to really map out what you need, how much it's going to cost you, and what's your return on investment, and what are your compliance requirements. So I think this is very, very important. Yeah.
Can you do me a favor for those who are going to go back and listen? I know they're going to go look into your links. Click on the architecture button really quick.
Yep.
And so
pretty, very pretty.
It is. And so I like this because it gives you a very basic fundamental understanding of, here are your log sources. They're going to a DCR transformation. I think that probably if we were to flesh out a little bit around the DCR transformation, some customers go, I know what DCR is, but what does that look like? Especially where you can do stuff like specific table exclusions, you can do table level retention, things along that line. That would be one of the other things. And believe me, I'm not making this up myself. This is someone that I sent it to. And I told them, I don't own the tool. This is a partner I know. They own the tool. You need to reach out to that thing and go do this. This is awesome, guys. I like it. I know that the things that cost the most is free. So when people start getting on it and on it and on it, you don't want the feedback and the capability thing to become overwhelming. Then people start complaining, well, it's not up to date. Of course it's not up to date. Hell, I work at Microsoft. Nothing's up to date. I'm always 4 or 5 days behind. Don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah. But no, I mean, we want the feedback. So yeah, whether we get kind of a little feedback button somewhere on the page, or whether you reach out to us, I mean, even use the talk to an expert, reach out to us. We love the feedback, and we are enhancing it. Like you said, we have made a couple of kind of minor enhancements, I guess, already based on some feedback. And yeah, I mean, we're agile, we're quick. So please, use it. Please give us feedback, and yeah, we'll keep updating it. As Microsoft changes, we'll keep updating as our thinking evolves and changes. Right, as we do consider ourselves premier experts when it comes to Sentinel deployments. We have one of the largest deployments in the world under our belt. So I mean, we've got a lot of scars, and we're trying to help people learn from those here. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into this, right? And even as we get into the things we can do pre and post, right, with DCRs and really getting into that, that's something that warrants, right? Okay, let's get engaged. Let's dig into this. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to understand. Yeah, hopefully that is a good kind of formal introduction. We've been talking about it out on LinkedIn a little bit, and we know some Microsoft folks have been talking about it. I hope people are getting value out of it. We do want the feedback, but I don't know exactly how long you guys run this typically, to be honest. I think very briefly, we'd like to talk about a couple of the other things we're doing just at a high level. But was there anything else you guys wanted to chat about on the calc front?
Before we end the show, I'd like for you guys, we talked about one of your tool sets that you have, but we gloss over who you are. So give us your brag sheet, who you are, and the other things that you do. I want to hear the brag sheet.
Yeah, I mean, for Lockbase, we really pride ourselves on being focused, that security partner. Again, I think the hard part I touched on earlier is, okay, well, what does security mean, SIEM and XDR, or does it also mean, purview? Yeah, for us, it does mean purview. I think you can get deep into purview where, it can be a specialist boutique firm that's all they do. But we very intentionally avoid, trying to be privacy experts, right? Or trying to be GRC experts, when we say purview, we mean DLP, MIP, IRM, and DSPM, right? That's what the compliance side of E5 means to us. And we have a ton of confidence deploying those solutions at a technical level, helping customers start to, get into that side of security. Because I think, one of the things I'm sure you're seeing, Edward, as you get into AI security, right? It's some of the fundamentals, it's some of the eat your vegetables stuff is still undone, whether that's identity or whether that's, purview, i.e. data security. If you don't have that foundation, man, you're in a little bit of a hole. You've got to get there. Now we can start to talk about actual AI security and the new attack surface that introduces, right? Mm-hmm. So that's, one of the areas. But yeah, when we think about the cool stuff we're doing, I mean, we've built some custom security copilot agents. So that is really where we're pouring a lot of our energy, a lot of our time. We had one of our larger customers reach out to us and say, hey, we want to, take that next step, right? We've been doing a lot of work with quote unquote SOC optimization, but we want to take that next step into agentic, leveraging agentic functionality from a SOC perspective, right? Mm-hmm. So, that is where we're, spending a lot of hours, a lot of thought is in that kind of custom security copilot agent. MCP, we've started to find some cool things there. I think I've been in the boat with MCP where I'm just trying to put my arms all the way around it, right? Like, hey, I know what the concept is, but the guys on the team are knee deep into it and doing some pretty cool stuff with MCP as a way to take the agent world and extend it out to more custom or more nuanced scenarios. So that's how we're kind of currently approaching it. But Charlie, why don't you talk about some of the cool stuff we're doing in that realm? Yeah,
I mean, our DNA, if you want to talk about bragging, this is a silly brag, but in December, we bought our team Flipper Zeros, right? You could do a gift basket or Flipper Zeros. So we got Flipper Zeros.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, that's who we are. We spent time on the SOC. We've trained SOC, so we understand deeply the MITRE ATT&CK framework. We've done pen testing. So when we're talking about what these tools can do, it's because we're coming from a place where we tested it. Right. It's here you go. We were prepping for a pen test and we were doing our lab environment first. And I was doing an adversary in the middle attack. So email phishing comes in, the user clicks on it. Right. And we're able to kind of steal their session token and kind of parade as them. That was the intent. And a week prior, I enabled some new settings in our lab tenant where we said, hey, if you see some suspicious behavior, go ahead and take action on it. Like, go ahead. And so here I am, a week later. I slept since then, and I'm doing the attack, and I'm like, man, I'm cruising. I'm moving along. And there's different techniques you can get efficient URL in, and so I got it in. And the user kind of simulated clicking on it. They clicked on it, and all of a sudden, I got the token. I took it and tried to use it, and I was like, it's not working. Like, what the heck's going on? Like, I've done this many of times. Like, I know what I'm doing, and it wasn't working. And I was like, dang it. So I'm like, all right, well, it's a lab environment. Maybe something changed. I go in the lab environment and I see the incident that was triggered for what I was doing. And it said, credential theft detected, sessions were revoked automatically, and count was already disabled. I'm like, oh yeah, that was last week when I enabled that.
I've done that myself. When you go back and go, I've made it so secure that I can't do the things.
It was so quick. I thought my lab was broken, right? And that's who we are, right? We really pressure test things. So kind of like, hey, bragging, and we talk about like MCP, like what are we doing with that? How do we really threat hunt with that?
I had a customer that pushed back and said that while that's a good thing that your platform, that Microsoft's platform is doing AITM, ours, and all this other stuff, they were worried that it would be hyper aggressive, and it was if it inadvertently quarantine a server workload entity, that it could be disruptive to their environment. I said, well, look at it from this way. This is going to expose that you are not doing the best practices, because a lot of these things are based on identity as being a toehold. Who is logging onto your server, browsing and doing these things? You need to have managed identities, right? You need to be getting off service accounts that are embedded into your code because it's easy. And so when it does this, think of it as not that this thing was over aggressive. It highlighted of the efficiency in the way that you access critical resources. And people, I saw that went through a customer thing, and they literally were logging on with identities that were tied to biological sources with passwords and no MFA, because they hadn't really made the transition over to managed identities. And now they're still trying to adopt AI and use it. I'm like, whoa. You are not ready for this right here. And so I think that lot-based cyber is in a great place, because the consultative about AI, particularly around agents acting as operators in your environment, is going to be super critical. Do not think of them as anything other than another person that makes bad mistakes. If you start looking at them as automation entities and compute entities exclusively and think that they're always going to be right, you're going to be doomed. Think of them as something that you put in that doesn't sleep but still makes mistakes. And so I'm starting to see that now. I started playing around, but we can talk about that in another thing. That's Frank's area of expertise, not mine. But this has been really good, guys. I'm a fan. I rarely extend my reputation out, right? It's like your credit score is hard to build. It's easy to mess up, but I would definitely pub, log-based cyber, both of you guys, I know your skill set. I know if you're in front of a customer, you know what you're doing, right? I believe that you're in a great place as far as that. Customers looking for more boutique, hand-holding, not big companies now. I'm seeing it. I need you to put somebody on here that I can go talk to, right? Because every time I call the phone, I get a different person. That's not cool. I want someone that if I go down in flames, you're going down with me. And that is the thing that is being prevalent now. Big companies, medium companies, and my market analysis is the small to medium-sized corporate and SMB is right for people who have this massive enterprise skill set but can still come work with me. Because budgets are getting tight, and I need to be able to do this. And you don't have to kill your rate. Now, Frank is not cheap. I'll give you that. He charges me, and I'm his best friend. There you go. You're welcome to always come back on the show, guys. If you want to come on and co-host, you want to come on and make announcements to what you're doing, that's fine. You have an open invitation that when we send out, Frank, we're doing partner month in April or May this year. I don't remember.
I just show up. I'm not.
Sure, I don't know. So you guys will have an open invite where we do a month of only partners. So it's like the Hunger Game for partners. Come in and show your stuff.
Yeah.
Do it, right?
No, thanks, Edward. We had a lot of fun here today. I mean, we'd love to come back and talk a little more specifically about custom security copilot agents, what we're doing with MCP. I think that could be a big one. And then, I mean, I'm eager to watch you on this AI journey. I mean, I've been out there trying to present, locally at small venues, just my perspective on just what are we talking about? When we're thinking about AI security. And I think that's an area I would love to come back. And especially with Frank's specialty there. I mean, it's kind of like DevSecOps, 2.0, right? We've got a lot of people to get in the boat, and we're speaking different languages. I think Fabric shines a big spotlight on that, where we've got these different perspectives coming together, and there's a lot that we've got to learn. There's a lot we've got to kind of shoulder up with these other teams on. So I'm excited about that. I
not blowing smoke up Franklin's, but if you really want someone to mentor and give you the path to understand this without the marketing and vendor hype, go to Franklin. He'll tell you. He's put me on a learning path. It's irrelevant of who makes it. Once you know how paper is made, it doesn't make it. It doesn't care who makes the paper, right? I know what it takes to make paper. He's cost me a lot of money.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, if it ends up with me buying a generator and 3 NVIDIA GPUs,
hold on a second.
Have a place to sleep.
I got him away from buying the Mac, and then I'm like, hey, look, look at how much memory your GPU has. And the next thing you know, he's buying 50 GPUs, and I don't get it. So
I would definitely give you guys access to be able to do it if you want to do it. I am going to rent space on this thing. It is, you get your chest on it, man. I got it.
Yeah,
I think Edward's going to need a place to live after his wife finds out.
She just came home too. She's not chopping the door down when I asked just now. I gotta go cook dinner. Guys, thanks so much to all our listeners. Rod will be back in the next one. We'll be back in 2 weeks. While we won't have a show, but every other week, we will be posting on our podcast website on a weekly basis with updates, announcements, things like that. We're in February. March is Women in Cyber. We're getting our guest list put together. It's going to be our 3rd or 4th year doing Women in Cyber. So we're going to bring some of the top women in cybersecurity to come back on the show and talk about their experience and their journey. I think that April is probably going to be tech heavy month, where everybody that comes on has to do a demo, no PowerPoints, no talking. And then May is going to be partner month, and Lockbreak Cyber is going to be one of those. Ironically, the qualification to be in partner month, you have to have a security co-pilot agent. That's the thing. So we'll have James Key back on from Microsoft, who's the principal program manager for Security Copilot, guest of the show. Holla at me, James. Give me some love. He's going to be a guest host on the show, and we're going to have fun. So to everyone, have a good one. Thanks. Have fun. Stay warm. Do all the things. Don't go out and spend $50,000 on a rig. Yeah.